Hello, I'm Jesse McAnally.
And I'm Andrew DeWolf.
And I'm Brianna Jones.
And welcome to Musicals with Cheese, a podcast where I try to get Andrew and Brie to like musical theater. And today, we have an extra special guest. I am so
the specialist guest.
I'm always
all the time.
It's always a special guest, but today it's a super special guest. I'm
Do
so
I win?
pumped.
It's true.
You win.
Specialist.
This week, we are lucky enough to be joined by composer, lyricist, actress, multi-instrumentalist, Pearl Rhein. Let's go! Add the applause, streamers, explosions, fireworks. Let's go!
Thank you.
Pearl, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. I need to add like 5 more ist words to my credit, I think, just to make it as much of a tongue twister as
whatever you need.
How many ists can we add onto it? Socialist.
Yes.
Ooh.
Oh, that's the
Spicy.
bestest. Oh, yeah. So glad to have you here today. And you're actually the one that decided what we're talking about today. So what are we talking about today, Pearl?
We're talking about one of my favorite ist musicals, Violet.
Cue the music, Brie!
Before another sunrise wakes me, before another night is gone, I'll find out where this highway takes me. You know I've got to travel on. Left my troubles all behind me. Back there when I climbed on board. Jordan River's where you'll find me. It's wide but not too wide to walk.
Violet is a musical with music by Jeanine Tesori and lyrics and book by Brian Crawley, based on The Ugliest Pilgrim by Doris Betts. It premiered at the Eugene O'Neill Theater at the National Music Theater Conference in 1994. It premiered off-Broadway at Playwrights Horizons on March 11, 1997, and closed April 6, 1997. It opened on Broadway for its revival at the American Airlines Theater and a Roundabout Theater Company production on March 28, 2014 in previews, and officially opened on April 20th, 2014, with Sutton Foster starring as Violet. It closed August 10th, 2014. It was nominated for 4 Tonys, but unfortunately won none, and the plot of the story is Violet tells the story of a young woman's quest for beauty amidst the image-obsessed landscape of the 1960s. Facially disfigured as a child in an accident, Violet dreams of a miraculous transformation through the power of faith. Convinced that a televangelist in Oklahoma can heal her, she hops on a Greyhound bus and starts the journey of a lifetime. All right, all that's out of the way. Pearl, when did you first... Yeah, that's it. Y'all get the gist.
We got it, Jess. Jeez.
You got it. You understand what Violet is about. You know who was behind it. And now we never have to bring it up again is the best part. Like,
Podcast over. That was fun.
Yeah, the
That was
podcast
great.
is over.
Good
We
episode.
did it.
Great episode, everybody. See you next week.
Pearl, when did you first get into Violet?
Okay, so I went to college in Muncie, Indiana. I went to Ball State, and I was an acting student, not in musical theater. But I play a bunch of instruments, and piano is one of them. And so when I was either a freshman or a sophomore, I was young in college. One of the cool seniors was going to do a senior-directed project, and it was Violet. And he asked if I would music direct. And I do not music direct. I've done I've done 4 shows. I've music directed 4 shows, 2 productions of Children of Eden, A New Brain,
Interesting one,
and Violet. Those are
I could not think of 3 more different shows.
Right. But I didn't have anything else to do, and I had never heard of it because I went to college in the early 2000s. So musical
Violet
theater
wasn't
was
big.
still like you got to go and buy the cast album at Barnes and Noble. You got to hope somebody has the vocal selections. And so that was my introduction to the show. And I learned it and had a real blast teaching it and playing. I played piano for the whole show, except for there was one, I was listening to it today and trying to remember. There was one number where it might have been like the fight. Like there's a fight on stage, and I switched to fiddle and played fiddle for that one number. But when you have like 3 people in your band, the pianist pretty much has to always be playing the keys. So We just randomly had fiddle for one song. And that was, so it became one of my absolute favorite musical, especially cast recordings. And so like, I know the cast recording of the off-Broadway production really intimately. And then I saw it on Broadway when Sutton Foster did it. And that was, I guess, the first time I got to see it staged. I just think it's great.
Mm-hmm. What do you think of the revival compared to like the original cast album, as well as your moments in the pit?
I thought really good. I think the show lends itself to a stripped down staging so well, to this kind of like bare bones, same costume the whole time, not a lot of bells and whistles performance.
Yeah.
Sutton is such a strong actor and like really what you need for that role. And I know that I think there was a little bit of like Sutton Foster doing Violet, and she inhabited that role so beautifully. It was so moving. And Josh Henry singing Let It Sing is still like one of the most time-stopping performances that I've ever gotten to see in a show. I went with my husband and a friend, and it was my husband at the time, and Josh Henry finished singing Let It Sing, and the audience applauded. It was one of those like 2 full minutes of applause, and you could watch the actors being like, this always happens. We have to wait for a long time. And we just looked at each other like it was just such an incredible performance.
I mean, of course, that's incredible. I've only dove into Violet recently, within the last 2 years, and mostly only have the revival as my framework for what it is. From what I gather from the 2 albums, there's like subtle differences, but not much there. They didn't really restructure the show. It's not like really intense.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think there's one song swap out. Mm-hmm. That the character Montgomery, they replaced, I'm still so much more familiar with the off-Broadway recording, but they replaced one of his songs in the second act, I believe. But other than that, it felt pretty close to what I remembered from doing the show, structure-wise. Mm-hmm. Oh, and another connection with that original recording was I did Memphis, the musical, when it was at the La Jolla Playhouse. I was in grad school at UCSD, and I was in that's like 2 legs before it hit Broadway. I did not go to Broadway with Memphis, but at the table read, it was like my first big professional musical. Cass Morgan, like a Broadway musical theater stalwart. She's an incredible lady. She opened her mouth, and I heard, you know how you like those line readings from cast albums get like ingrained in your DNA, and I heard her voice, and I was like, oh my God, because I could hear her saying, "I'm right tired of children," from the off-Broadway cast recording, because she was in the original off-Broadway cast of Violet, and she became a friend and still is, and that was a very exciting experience.
That's beautiful. Yeah. That's such a great journey that you went on with both that show and like how it all connects together. It's incredible. Right? And it just shows how small this industry and this world altogether really is.
Oh yeah.
Everybody seems to know everybody.
Yes, and they all seem very, very nice, which is the best part of all.
Yes.
But Andrew, I forced to watch this literally yesterday. He dove into the album and sadly enough watched a bootleg because Broadway doesn't exist at the moment.
I have no shame. Well, that's my favorite thing to watch while I lift weights.
Yo ho, yo ho.
And I'm very curious because I didn't really get to talk with him about what he thinks of this show yet. So upon first watch, Andrew, what'd you think?
I had no idea what to think of it going in, but honestly, I thought it was pretty strong, and I'm surprised I haven't heard of it at all. Because this seems like a relatively recent show, and I've never heard of this show. And what it reminded me of a bit was that Steve Martin show we did musically.
Bright Star.
But, like, better. that, but like much better. So I'm surprised I haven't heard of it, because I think it deserves a bit more recognition, unless I'm out of the loop, of course.
I mean, let's talk about the composer Jeanine Tesori, because we've covered a lot of her work, and recently, too. We've covered her other collaboration with Sutton Foster, which was Thoroughly Modern Millie. We had opinions on that and how that has and has not aged well in many different ways. We covered Caroline or Change. We covered Fun Home, and all of them are strangely so big of shows in their own specific, and of course Shrek the Musical. We can't forget that one. Those are such big shows, like big intense shows that both change the landscape or like started something rolling that is still feeling to this day, that sadly enough Violet kind of gets lost in the shadow of the greats, and you kind of forget how great Violet is.
Yeah. And it was her first, right? I believe it was her
first like big
feature.
one, yeah.
Yeah.
And for someone's first show to like really like strike, this is really good, and I think it might even be like my second or third favorite of her work so far.
Yeah, I think it's like there's not a lot going on plot-wise, but it feels like they make up for that with some very good character songs and like just a small number of characters, but they are all interesting, so you care about what's going on. You know, and it's a little bit sad watching the whole thing, because I mean it's basically about a woman getting scammed by a preacher, but you know it's she still learns something from it, and you feel like it's a happy ending. I don't know.
And it uses theatrical convention in a way that many smaller musicals feel, and smaller plays altogether, feels they don't need to do because of how small they are. Like, this has like the magical mysticism and the idea of traveling back and forth and talking to past versions of yourself, interacting with past versions of yourself, and all these things you can only do on stage that a lot of like other smaller slice of life musicals are like, well, we want it to be real, so we don't need that. Just put them in the room.
It
with
doesn't
them.
need to be real.
And I appreciate that in all of Tesori's other like kind of slice of life musicals as well. You did bring up something that I want to talk to Pearl about, specifically about the deformity and how it's portrayed on stage, and how it's not portrayed on stage.
Yeah, I found it a bit interesting. They kept talking about how she has this deformity and scar, and I'm like looking at the screen like, does she? So it doesn't seem like they used any makeup, or at least not in the version I've watched.
I think that's the tradition. I know that's how the off-Broadway and the Broadway production were done, and
yes, when
I MD'd it, that's how it was done. I don't know that I've ever heard of a production using makeup or prosthetics. And I've never heard a person with facial difference speak to what it's like to watch that. So I feel like it could be possible that would be no fun if you had facial difference and you're watching an entire show about somebody's experience of that who doesn't have that. But I mostly think it's a smart theatrical choice, because then you leave it up to the imagination, and
it's probably easier to perform as well.
Yeah. And I feel like as soon as you start doing prosthetics, then it's about prosthetics, and it's about like, well, what is the extent of the deformity? And I feel like not doing it kind of fits with the theatricality of the rest of the show.
Mm-hmm. And I can see an argument. I just envision like the Gerard Butler Phantom of the Opera deformity, where people are like, well, that ain't that bad, or it's like, that's too bad. Like, you start making comparisons, and it's all about how she looks like, as opposed to the performance.
She doesn't really look that bad. This whole show is ridiculous. It's like, well, that's not really what it's about.
Right.
Yeah, I can see that. It also changes the ending, how you would see the ending, because you don't know if she just feels like she got better, or if she actually did, because she goes to the preacher and thinks that he healed the scar.
Right.
You know? So without actual prosthetic there, the audience can kind of interpret that either way until another character shows up, at least.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
yeah, I feel like I remember audience response to like the first time that Violet says to another character, says something that indicates that she thinks maybe it has changed, but the character responds that it hasn't. Like I think there's a line about a mirror and a woman's like, you could use some powder or something. And I can remember the audience being like,
I do want to take a moment to talk about Violet as a character, because she is an oxymoron in so many ways. Like, there's so many contradictory things about her. Like, she does kind of have this self-pity, but she is also very stubborn and strong. She, like, is, like, a very, like, reflective about how she looks, but is very quick to insult other people about how they look. Like, she's a very, like, crass and
defense
hard
mechanisms, it seems. But
yeah, she's very defensive, but then again, she's also super naive, and she's falling right into this televangelist's hands.
Yeah.
So, like, every single thing about her just, like, contradicts herself, which makes it feel even more real as this, like...
Totally. One of my...
nobody's consistent in real life.
Yeah. One of my favorite things about her as a character is her sexual agency and the fact that sex isn't a huge deal to her. And that feels really special in a musical, too, because musical theater can exist in this, like, really puritanical world where either sex doesn't exist at all, or, like, it's a really big deal and it, like, has huge emotional ramifications. And I just love that it's, like, a thing she does in her life, and it is not the end all be all. And when she has sex with somebody, it's not like a first time, and then that doesn't end up being the guy she's with, and everybody's okay with that. That feels extremely radical in musical theater, unfortunately.
And the most radical thing about it, too, for me, is this person that thinks herself so ugly and, like, all this. It's not... She doesn't get any, like, physical gratification from sex. Like, that is not gratifier. Like, oh, I guess I am pretty because someone wants me. No, it's herself that finds herself, like, unattractive.
And she, like, gets out in front of rejection. And because that is such a way that people handle the fear of rejection, of, like, I'm just gonna be in control of everything, and I'm gonna always do the rejecting.
Yeah.
It's a great show. And I want to talk about the relationship with her father and the flashbacks to her as a child, which I think
is my favorite part of the show.
It's the best part, especially I believe her name is Emerson Steele, who plays the young girl on the 2014 revival. My God, that is a star. That is a star.
Really well.
Yeah, what a voice.
I'm a big fan of sad dads, so this is a great show for me.
Me Alexander Geminiani, he deserves the career growth that Alex Brightman is currently having. I think, like, he should just take off right now.
Like, anything. He's incredible. Yeah, I feel like it's such good use of flashback and of that bifurcated character where you see them at different ages, because that can feel really academic in musical theater. That can just feel like, whoa, you had an idea. Well, we're here again. and this just feels so dramatically important and so revealing. And then when you realize you're kind of building up to actually seeing the incident, there's, like, such a sense of dread, and it's gonna be so hard and scary for everybody. I'm with you with sad dads.
I think we gotta spoil some stuff really quick.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
So spoilers.
If you haven't seen Violet, as soon as theaters reopen, go see Violet. I feel like we've been very positive up to this point. We love this show.
Somebody do Violet.
But
yes,
I'm available.
We gotta do spoilers real quick. So Violet was not born with, like, a facial defect or anything like that. She has a physical scar because her father was, like, chopping wood or something like that, and she walked in and the axe somehow hit her face, or the axe head came off, is how I interpreted it.
There's a thing that holds the axe head onto the handle. What's his line? He's I didn't drop the axe. This something wasn't. I don't check it every time. And then she's like, I bet you check it now. But yeah, like a pin came loose, and so the axe head flew off the handle.
And that wasn't just the be-all, end-all for deformity. It's the fact that he ran her to a doctor, and the doctor was, like, the local city doctor, who's also a drunk that did not do it well.
Oh, I
and
forgot
kind of messed
about
up
that. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's like
Country
one thing
medicine.
on top of another, and then it takes 5 years of it being healed incorrectly, and before she can even go see a real professional about it. It's like one thing on top of the other, and she just blames her dad for this, who up to this point we see being a rough and tumble farm dad, but not a bad father.
Yeah.
And I don't think he is a bad father necessarily. I don't think that's the point. I think really the emphasis of the show is that she has to forgive him because he's dead at this point. And, the climax is she confronts him spiritually and forgives him, essentially. At least that's how I interpret it. So,
Just like Contact.
yeah.
She closes all of her baggage, which then, as I forget,
And that
Flick
makes her
says at the
feel like
bottom,
she's healed.
yeah, it makes her feel healed, and even Flick is like, something's different about you, where you can finally move on and live your life
Yeah.
with me because I'm Josh Henry and I'm beautiful. that might have been my subtext there, but I would have gone.
Yeah,
with them.
it's a perfectly fine interpretation, I think. I mean, that is how it ends.
And it is nice. It's nice to give her such a happy ending. And like, I do think it glosses over a little bit, like, beauty isn't everything. Beauty is on the inside, yes. But the world is really shitty if you're different. And I feel like it's a little bit too aspirational in, like, all you have to do is feel different, because she's still a woman with facial difference in the South in the 60s, and that's probably...
He's still a black man in the South in the 60s, which is... They're both in a very bad situation.
They do still have it end with that kind of asshole type guy, though, that wants to use her, essentially. Like, still trying to, and she turns him down. So it's not as though they completely throw that out the window that the world is still shit.
Yes.
But
I think
Can we
I
focus
love that.
on Monty, please?
Oh, yeah. The
Oh my god,
original-
that character.
Do you guys swear in this?
Oh, yeah,
Always.
absolutely.
Yes,
Go ahead,
please.
go ahead.
Monty is like the OG musical theater fuckboy.
I don't know about the OG. I mean, we've seen
Billy
Carousel.
Bigelow.
Oh my god! Speaking of Josh Henry performances, no, you're totally right. You're totally right. He takes all of the cakes.
I don't think there's a bigger definition of fuckboy than Billy Bigelow. I'm gonna come back from the dead just to hit my daughter.
I had to.
But it's
And
okay,
she
I go to
loved
heaven
it.
anyways.
She loved it.
She said it felt like a kiss, so it was all okay.
Oh my god!
If you love someone, beat them.
There's
not really. That's a
really more conservative people in this world than my parents. And I took them. We went to see Carousel on Broadway, and my Lutheran mom walked out of the theater and was like, "Those gender roles were kind of outdated."
What? So, I mean, yeah, I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
So.
That's on my long list, and this is an unpopular opinion, but that's on my long list of musicals that just shouldn't be done unless the book gets rewritten. Because
I'm gonna write you a
said in our
pitch.
episode, but
I'm gonna write you a
there's
pitch.
no
It should be
fixing
turned
it.
into a. There is one way. You end it at after If I Loved You, and that's the end of the show. It's a nice short musical.
this is
it's solved.
alternatively, alternate pitch, Billy Bigelow can just go to hell.
Yes, a lot of options.
and Julie and what's her friend's name? I forget. Julie and her friend, they run
You're gonna
away
get me to
from
remember.
Mr. Snow with all of the kids, and they raise the children together in a lesbian commune island off the coast of Maine.
And then instead of If I Loved You, Now I Love You, we get a nice reprise and everyone's happy. Like, yep,
Yes.
I'm down for this. I don't care if it makes the musical 5 hours long. We gotta do this. We gotta get back to Monty, the OG fuckboy.
Oh God, yeah.
Monty, at first I was like, this guy doesn't seem that bad. And then I was like, wait, never mind. This guy seems that bad.
It's great. It really sneaks up on you. And then you think like, oh no, she's going to be shattered. And then she's like, I'm already shattered. It's so satisfying and liberating that she doesn't get, like, in a way, her like self-defensiveness works because she's seen that kind of thing coming before.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't know about you, but anytime I just see a white man in, like, military fatigue, I'm like, I'm on the fence. Like, what are you gonna do wrong?
Yes.
Let's go.
I mean,
when you got Dogfight, you've got Miss Saigon. In musical theater, they're never really the best people in the world. Is all I'm saying.
Nope. So it's like sometimes the musical knows that, and sometimes it doesn't. But there's still probably bad news.
I mean, even when they're kind of on the good guy, they're bad news. Like, if they don't enter the female lead's life, their life would probably be better.
Yes.
So, Vietnam men, very bad, unless you're Josh Henry.
Yep.
Then you're fine. You're fine. But it doesn't matter what we think. It's time for us to go into our favorite segment where we compare our opinions to those of the New York theater critics when this show came out. It's time for previews.
It's time for previews. It's time for previews.
Okay, so New York Times, Ben Brantley said of the original 1997 production, Violet, which has a score by Jeanine Tesori with a book and lyrics by Ben Crowley, is adapted from The Ugliest Pilgrim, a short story by Doris Betts that has been widely anthologized. That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
The popularity of the story, which follows the odyssey of a young woman who leaves her rural home to seek out a television faith healer, is understandable. What the show fails to do is to provide any compelling sense of character. Miss Ward's Violet, whose scar is left to the audience imagination, is an appealing, supple-voiced presence, and the actress works hard at whipping up some emotional ardor. But from the beginning, Violet seems like a shrewd, scrappy, and sure-footed creature. A little like Sissy Spacek in Coral Miner's Daughter. And you're never convinced, as you have to be, of the desperate spiritual path which she lives. The truth is never so pat, says Violet. Try and wrap your mind around that. This show, unfortunately, lets you wrap your mind around its message nearly from its inception. That's not a good thing when the musical is, for the most part, the message.
I don't understand what he's trying to say here. This is another one of those Ben Brantley reviews where I think he just wanted to say a bunch of pretty words and mean nothing.
Yeah, I have no idea if he's criticizing the character writing or the direction. Like, he sounds like I didn't really relate to this character, but I have not thought about why that might be.
It seems to me like she keeps saying she's in pain, but she's mean, so I can't empathize with her pain. She's mean.
He also says that he doesn't understand the character, but he also already, like, it's very easy to get the message of the whole show. Like, I got it right away.
Yeah.
Which is not good. But it's like, okay.
It's hard to wrap your mind about the message, despite it being a very simple message. But the show is the message, and I'm like, what the fuck are you trying to say, my dude?
I don't know. I guess I didn't watch the version of the show he watched, so maybe
it was a 97
right,
production, which isn't insanely different. It's just, I don't know. I think he just went in with a bad taste in his mouth, to be honest. It was another one of those classic Ben Brantley, I'm going to go into this because it's an off-Broadway show, and I'm going to shit on it for 10 pages.
Yeah.
You know, the Ben Brantley classic. Oh,
it's a no for me, dog.
My favorite is one of his last reviews he ever did, which was of a Godspell production just like somewhere in the world, where he's just like, yeah, Godspell sucks, but I was so glad to be in a theater. That was his review.
This might as well have just been reviewing COVID-19 or whatever.
Yeah. The worst wine still tastes like the best wine if you haven't had it in a while.
What a guy.
What a guy, Ben Brantley. Do we agree with that review? I feel like there's no way we can because we don't understand what he's trying to say.
I mean, I understand what he's saying, what he's trying to say with not being compelling as far as character goes, but I can't agree with that. So, no.
Yeah, it feels like I wanted the character arc more spelled out, or I did not like how self-defended this character was. But that's like a quibble with the personality of the character. Like,
yeah, I guess he wanted her to be more passive and like not so sure.
Probably.
But I don't think that would have improved anything. In fact, it probably would have been a less interesting show, because how many times have we seen a show about a woman who is passive and damaged or whatever?
Yes.
I feel like he wanted the Glass Menagerie or like Light in the Piazza or something, and then he got something that is more realistic and more true.
Oh, yeah. This does not fit my idea of a person with a disability or a deformity.
Exactly.
Yup.
Exactly. And I think like he almost is blaming it on the fact that we don't see the scar. Like
Yes.
The fact that he addresses that makes me think I can't feel sympathy for them because I can't imagine how bad they look.
Yeah. They didn't even bother.
Yeah, so fuck Ben Brantley. Let's go on to let's travel through time to 2014 and see what happens next.
Okay, so this is the New York Times once again. They upgraded to Charles Isherwood. So he said of the 2014 revival, when Sutton Foster appears on Broadway, she's usually boasting a sunbeam smile, flapping away in tap shoes, clowning around amiably, and generally behaving like a girl determined to nail the talent competition in a beauty pageant, and maybe even take home Miss Congeniality award too. But pep-allergic people will not need to steel themselves to see the terrific, heart-stirring revival of Violet, the musical by Jeanine Tesori and Brian Crowley that opened at the American Airlines Theater on Sunday nights, starring Miss Foster in a career-redefining performance. Miss Foster's multi-hued performance is tart, funny, and nicely astringent in depicting how firmly Violet has shielded herself from the world until she feels she can join it on equal terms, although her belief that a preacher can heal her would seem to suggest a deeper naivete? Is that right? Naivete. Miss Foster.
Accent marks.
Miss Foster makes us feel from the inside how Violet's survival of her painful teenage years was linked to the belief that her disfigurement would only be temporary. Hope dies hard in young hearts. It's not exactly a spoiler alert to reveal that Violet's wish doesn't come true, that the preacher she put her hope in is a charlatan, that all the years of prayers cannot erase the damage done, but the musical concludes on a satisfying but not too sugary note of uplift by shedding her illusions at how painful a cost. Violet has also found a new kind of faith, a belief that her life's promise does not depend on divine intervention, but the homelier comforts of human attachment.
Now this guy gets it.
I'd say so.
Yeah.
He always does.
Yeah, Charles Isherwood has a much better track record of understanding the assignment than Ben Brantley.
He actually talks about what the show is about rather than just saying that what the show was about was way too simple, and I understood it, but I didn't like it.
I got it, but I'm too cool to tell you what it meant.
I'm impressed too, because I feel like Violet has the smallness of a show that sometimes Broadway critics are like, it's Broadway, but there's not 40 people tap dancing, so it's boring.
You know what? That's a fair point. They'd rather just sit and watch like Thoroughly Modern Millie, which has like a bunch of tap
choreography. There was some great choreography. Remember when everybody leaned back in their chair at the same time?
It was amazing. And they ripped that off for Come For Away. They all leaned back in their chair then too.
True. You're speaking the truth, Jess.
Sue the choreographer.
As a singer who moves, I am a huge fan of lean back in the chair choreography.
Oh yeah, this is a tough one.
At Great Common, did they give you any like lean back in the chair choreography?
No. I never got to sit down.
Oh, you on your feet for
Not
2.5 hours.
It's not fair.
Yeah. You're playing a viola, you still have to kick.
I think we can all basically agree with what Charles Isherwood had to say there.
Yeah. I agree with
totally
that a
agree.
lot
That-
more
I
than
felt like
the
he really got
other
it.
as well. Well, I think it's a good time for a mid-show.
I
and then we
think
can
so,
come back
too.
Talk to about the music.
Heck yeah, we can. All right. Let's go into a mid-show. Hey guys, sorry to interrupt you in the middle of the show, but we've got a shill at you!
Oh, boy.
Today's show is brought to you by the extremely kind donations by our donors over at Patreon. Andrew, who's donating to us on Patreon?
Oh, boy. We have a lot of patrons, so I think I'll just get right into it. Our
Go
current
to it.
patrons are Melissa Goldman, Terry Needleman, John Donna, Leighton Ackles, Danielle Renix, Jess the Stampede, Ewan Cassidy, Tess Gear, Fire of September, Monica Thoreau, Mina Maneri, Brent Black, Haley Murray, B-Way Flicks, Nathaniel Stacy Coombe, Joseph Evans Green, Carrie Ahern, Christine Malmadel, Mary Lou Choquette, Jean Vanels, Heck You, I Go By Elijah Now, Russ Walker, Musical Hell, Emily Gracie, Andrew Van Barherson, To Blam, Kyle Summers, Janae C., Christina Francis, Scoot and the Technicolor Dreamcoat, Liz Lim, Corey Wilmarth, Allison Stuller, Nothing Is Certain Except Beth and Taxes, John Vanels, Thespian, Ren Cullen, Wait in the Wings, Spectacle Machine, Jacob Stroop, Rafael Martinez Salas, I think that's right.
Yeah.
Robert Benjamin, Rachel T., Jessica T., Genevieve Hartnett, Cass, Mitchell Young, Shy Teacup, Hayden Wilder, Katie McDonough, Genki Geist, Stakas, Timothy Keys, Jeffrey Machado, oh boy. Jacuse. I knew that one, but I couldn't remember it. Jacuse. Toon Van Essen, Jesse Taylor, R. Elliott, Chris Marcotte? Is that French or is that...
Marcotte.
Chris Marcotte. I'm sorry, I'm terrible with these new names. Alexandria Seng and Katie Terberg. I swear next week I'll probably get them right, but
You won't. But the best part is there are new names. We love having new folks on here. There's so much great things, and they give us a little extra financial support that helps us keep the lights on here at Musicals with Cheese, lets us keep Bree employed. And you know what?
are the lights on. It is hot
the
today.
lights are on. I am sweating my ass off. Let's go. But you know what you get if you support us? You get tons of fun shit. You've got, like, me, Bree, watching The Little Mermaid, the most demented episode of the TV show ever made. You get to watch me, Andrew, and Bree talk about trailers and, like, the upcoming movie musicals.
Don't forget the Tom and Jerry Wizard of Oz special.
Yeah, we did a full-on commentary of that. And also, if you were to download or donate literally any money to us on Patreon, right now, you can see Pearl's face right now, and she's got this big smile on. She's dancing right now. Oh, you're missing out. You're not on Patreon.
Up on her chair. This is incredible.
You know what?
She's going to lean back. She's leaning back.
Oh, my God. She's leaning back. Oh, my God. Those dance moves.
Award-winning Broadway dancer.
Incredible. Bravo. My goodness. And you know what? I just see it on the top of her lips. She just wants you to join Patreon. I can just see her wanting to say it.
I do. Please
I got her to say it. I got her to do it.
How do you keep getting the guests to endorse us for free? This is extortion.
You know what? It's Pearl approved. Let's just join us. Give us money is what we're saying. We need your money, or else Bree will have to live in a box, and we don't want that.
All right. We've gone long enough. It's time to get back to the show.
Let's talk some songs.
A battered nose, a pimpled chin, uneven eyes to take it in. Mama, why does a man have hands? If I tell you, don't you tell. Go ask your boy, he understands. There's honey in the bushes, Lord, and water in the well.
Let's talk about that opening number, which I don't know about you, but Jeanine Tesori always knocks her opening number out of the park.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
the recurring like theme of "Mama was a man got eyes," like it starts as like this really charming thing, and then by the time it comes back much later, it's like, oh my god, I need a tissue. I cannot breathe. Oh my god,
So chilling.
but it just sets up every single theme as well as like the specific devices used in the show as well, the traveling back and forth in time and all that. What do you guys think?
I so agree. And one thing I love about the score too, as I play and sing a lot of country and folk music, and that's like sort of like the genre that I live in the most next to musical theater. The country and folk influences feel really genuine and actually known, and not like sometimes musical theater goes like, oh, and now it's a country song, and it feels very like like it was written by a bunch of wasps in a room in New York, and this feels a lot more authentic. And that comes in the instrumentation too, and like the fiddle parts, the pedal steel guitar, like there's so few musicals that have pedal steel. And then the revival uses banjo. And that just like all of that music feels like it already lives right in your chest and they're just pulling it out.
It feels like, and I said it earlier, it feels like Bright Star. And I remember when we did the episode on Bright Star, I was like, I like this music style. I don't think this show's very good, but I'd like to see more shows try this. And then here this is. It's right here. So everything I said about the music in Bright Star goes double for this because this is better. In my opinion. I'm sure some people really like Bright Star.
Probably about to say, like, I am the biggest Bright Star fan. Throw that baby off the train.
If you like throwing babies off trains, I mean, I can't fault you for that. It's fun. But
in slow motion.
So you are the biggest Bright Star fan in the world.
I'm mostly with you. Like some gorgeous banjo, some beautiful melodies, some beautiful chords. Slow motion baby.
Off the train. Off the train.
Off the train. A man's gotta do.
Man's gotta do. A man's gotta do.
Specifically, this is a can of worms, but it specified only white performers, and like that doesn't feel good to me. And that kind of like I can't hear that musical without remembering the fact of that.
I did not know about that.
Another reason to hate Bright Star?
Yeah.
That is very specific.
It's very like no story reason at all.
No.
And like
I don't
if our
think that's even
concern
mentioned.
is historical accuracy, then why? It's not a story from history.
And why does it like what's historically accurate about everyone being white?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I have strong feelings about that. But beautiful
I
banjo.
feel sick to my stomach now. And I'm just like remembering that was the Hamilton year where Broadway's patting itself on the back for being so woke.
Oh, yeah. They're real good at that.
I hear.
I've seen Thoroughly Modern Millie. You don't get to talk about being woke Broadway.
Yeah.
I've
Hollywood
seen
hasn't
Dear
even done that kind of
Castboy. You
stuff
can't talk
recently.
about being woke on Broadway.
Oh no.
oh wait, yeah. That I hope that joke didn't hit too close to home. God, we hate Castboy here.
Wait, what word are you saying? I don't think I know this word.
Dear
he's saying-
Castboy.
Cast Boy. He's talking about
Evan
Hansen.
Oh. I have to admit that I am biased because I was in Great Comet, which was the same year of the Tonys, and so like I have to preface it with like obviously I'm gonna have feelings.
Well, that's fine. We're biased. We're biased too.
Yeah, we're biased. We love Great Comet, hate Dear Evan Hansen. That's our bias.
Yeah, it's just it's real wrong on a lot of things like mental illness and suicide and when it's okay to kiss a teenage girl and a lot of ththings. It's just real wrong.
Is it okay if you're pretending to be her dead brother's friend?
And you haven't gotten consent? Is that okay?
There's a lot of consent issues in Dear Evan Hansen. And anytime I talk to people about it, they're like, it's all about social media. And I'm like, it's not all about social media. And don't you dare try to say that to me.
Also,
What is it trying to say about social media? I'd love to know.
Like, it's all of those things exist on social media too. And they are also worse for the girls and for the people with suicidal ideation. And like, it's still worse for all the other characters. Yeah.
The sad part is every female character in Dear Evan Hansen is 100% more interesting than any male character in Evan Hansen.
Yeah.
And I think that's our rant on Dear 40-Year-Old Man in High School. Let's go on to the I Want song of Violet, On My Way.
Look at her skin, china white, tissue thin. Look how the light cuts clear to the bone. Gives her skin such a tone. I'd take it any day. Praise God for everyone I meet while I am on my way. My face is mean 80 years worth of tears. Might scrub it clean as hers and as strong. But Jesus, don't wait so long to make my face okay. At last the North Carolina border, and I am on my way.
I was just thinking before we signed on, one of the things that I really like about the songs is they like press up against the mold a little bit in like your musical theater structure songs.
Yes.
But they still fit them, but you can't immediately go, oh, I Want song, charm song, patter song. Like, they feel a little bit more idiosyncratic. And On My Way is such a good I Want song because it has so much motion. There's so much like literal travel happening in it that it doesn't suffer from the like, I'm like, it's I want and am getting, not just this is what I want. I hope someone gives it to me. Also, Tesori and her key changes. Just, she knows when to modulate in a way that is like so thrilling and it like character and story driven. It is just stupid.
I completely agree. And also,
yeah, I can't disagree.
Like, for an I Want song, it kind of sneaks up on you, like, because it kind of fades right into the conversation so beautifully. And as well, you don't really know what the story is. I mean, you get a gist, but you don't quite know where it's unfolding to. We have really not even introduced, like, the soldier characters yet. We just know Violet. We know, like, her basic goal and all that. And structurally, I agree with you. It does kind of bounce up against it, where this is like a perfect I Want song, and then after that, it kind of falls apart. A lot of that has to do, at least in my opinion, I don't remember if the original production was like this, but it's a one act. So you don't have like that act break where it's like, all right, we'll be back in a bit.
I think originally 2 acts, and then they took it down to 1 when they did it at Encores, and then kept that structure for Broadway. And I think that works really well.
What's nice, it doesn't overstay its welcome, you know.
It like,
and it's not, it's like
by.
you said, like, in a way, not a ton happens. And so that allows it to be about the characters and the relationships, and doesn't put too much emphasis on like, where's the bus stopping now? Because that's like not the exciting part.
Doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
And yeah, and like the moments to breathe are so important, but they're also like my least favorite moments in the show. Like all the M&Ms and moments where I'm like, I'm glad they're short. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
They're a song in a great musical eventually has to be the worst one.
Yes. It does do really well with those patter songs and charm songs, which it can so easily get boring and be like the one you skip on the recording. Like for instance, what's the poker learning song called? Luck of the Draw.
Luck of the Draw
is such a good, like musically, it's such a good quartet, and then it's also such a good informative scene, and like so
I really
much
like that
happens,
song.
and you learn about the Pa's relationship with her when she was young, and using it to teach math, and you learn about you really start to see that Violet has always been like really prickly, and then you get to see her introducing herself to the soldiers. And then you learn a little bit about poker, and the harmonies are so killer.
And then they lean back in the chairs. And,
I want to say,
Classic.
like, Luck of the Draw, like, this is a super emotionally, like, charged, like, musical. Luck of the Draw is probably the one that gets me the most choked up just on how great a song and scene and, like, how it works. I'm like, fuck, you can do that?
Yes, yeah.
it's really good.
Like, shocked as, like, okay, I know exactly her relationship with her dad. I know the kind of guy that her dad is, who is not a saint by any means, but doing his best in the way that he knows how, which also perfectly illustrates why she is the way she is and how she acts and all that. You see her being, like, the cut of his jib because that was really, like, who she was raised by, through no fault of his or no fault of hers.
Yeah.
And as well introducing like how she can kind of play these two dudes under the table and why. It's great.
Yep. And the lines that
That's
get
like
echoed when both of the girls go royal flush.
All right, let's talk about Flick's first like big solo, Let It Sing.
My family never had too much, made the best of every day. Ate what's on our plates, never threw a thing away. We kept our nightmares on the shelf, our dreams were on the table. Pass them down and help yourself as long as you are able. My mama told me, son, forget what might have been. Give yourself a break, whatever's happening. Don't let your spirit, son, come closing in. You got to give it room and let it sing. You got to give it room and let it sing.
I like Flick a lot in this. I wish that he got more, but
Yes.
I guess it wasn't really about him, so. It's
I mean,
fine,
it
but-
bothers me a ton that we focus so much on Monty as like this. I'd rather just have this like really nice
He's
guy.
the villain!
I know, but he's got like so much more playtime than say like Flick, who is just this well-intentioned.
Monty's just not an interesting character. Monty's just like, yeah, we know this guy. Okay.
Yeah, it feels like the kind of thing that was maybe a little progressive in the 90s and now feels like Flick is not allowed to be complicated because he's like the only black character with a character.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
of course the show does suffer from that musical theater thing of we're going to bring in a black woman to sing gospel who
Yes.
also doesn't
15
have a
minutes.
character. Like it's going to be one of the best things in the show, but she doesn't get to talk.
Yeah, that's one of my, like, the big things I have an issue with in this show is that specifically, like, it's a cool moment, but it means nothing.
Yes.
Full of sound and fury signifying nothing, all that. And it bothered
It goes
me a
on
lot
for a very
watching
long
it.
time. I didn't really enjoy the gospel part. It just kind of, the song is fine, and like, but it just goes on so long, and then none of the characters are in it, except for the preacher, I guess, but he's not even really a character. I don't know.
Yeah. And it's like it's rough to spend a lot of time like just listening to the music of this institution that we already know is hollow and is not going to be the answer that Violet's looking for.
Yes.
Well, yeah, it's like immediately when she says televangelist at the beginning, you're like, oh boy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, unless like there's some real twist where the
I'm
preacher's
also a
really,
plastic
like,
surgeon.
magic.
Yeah.
Funny
I
you
do
should
work
mention.
for free.
The Lord does work in mysterious ways.
Yeah. But they do give a song to the preacher and his posse for like 7 solid minutes with nobody else on the stage. It's like, okay, I mean the song's good and they're singing really well, but
it feels so much like that was like an era where every musical had a gospel song.
Yeah. Like, even all the way up to Hairspray, where Hairspray has its go-to gospel song and all that.
Yeah, it kind of feels like a thing that's there because it's in musicals, not because it really
If it was
gets
like
us somewhere.
If it was like 3 minutes and maybe if it had more like double meaning for the preacher or something, I don't know, it'd be more interesting.
If it was short and quick enough for us to feel like, oh, yay, I'm excited, church, and then it's over and you don't have time to think about it, then I feel like that would show a little bit more how you could get caught up in the Sound and Fury.
Yeah. I'm looking at the cast recording and it looks as though this song was 6 minutes and 40 seconds, and it's the longest one in the entire
Hot damn.
entire cast
That's
album.
a long song, guys.
Yeah, and it's also
like-
the only one with none of the characters in it, you know?
Yeah.
Let's think about it. Sutton Foster and all of them, they need time off stage to like breathe and get
Yeah.
water. and,
Especially when you cut intermission.
Yeah, there's no intermission.
Was that the
maybe-
song that came like the first song after intermission? Or was
Yes. I'm pretty
that explains
confident.
it. That explains it. That's
Yeah.
everyone sit down, everyone, you don't have to worry about plot, everyone find their goddamn seats.
Yes.
You're coming back from the bathroom, it's okay, you got 6 minutes of this gospel number you don't have to care about.
Yeah.
Except for it's a one act and it's
I
something
agree.
Yeah.
something major just happened and you're like, where's the lead?
I was about to say like, yeah, Flick give this like intense song, like Hard to Say Goodbye and Promise Me Violet, like both of those are like really intense numbers, and it feels like, oh, you're gonna want to see what comes back at Act 2, and then immediately it's like, well, you raise me up.
I know, and it's not even B plot. It's like not plot. It's a good, I don't want to like crap on it too hard. It's a good song.
It's a good song.
always say
I think
welcome.
it's not a good song
In this musical.
story-wise.
In this musical,
Yeah.
I'd say even.
Yeah.
It's not nowhere near as bad as Act 2 opener as like this was a real nice clam bake or something, but man, we're just hating on Carousel today. My God, I'm here
It deserves
for it.
it.
fine
Yeah.
with it.
Is there any other big songs you want to talk about in this show? There's tons of them, but it's like
I think the That's What I Could Do, the Father's number, is
Yeah.
pretty good.
that
We
moment.
could just talk about that one.
Forgive me. You're my only star. Look how bright, look how strong, look how beautiful you are. I've raised you stronger child than me, which you'll always be. That's what I could do. I raised you strong enough to start seeing with your heart. That's what I could do. That's all I knew to do.
rips your soul right out of you. And the transition is so smooth. Whereas like in Fun Home, it's just kind of like, hey, I'm talking to you now, adult Allison. And here it's like such a smooth transition. You don't even know when it stops being the daughter or the younger version and starts being the adult version.
Yeah. Very, very good moment. And I got sad. Sad dads are too much. It's too much.
That's my kryptonite too. That's tough.
Let's talk about sad dads and what makes them work. Because next week, me and Andrew, spoiler alert, we're talking about The Lion King, and that's a sad dad moment that I think doesn't work because he is too good. He is too perfect in every way that it's like, oh, you were designed to be a sad dad with a sad death.
Yeah.
And this, he's like an imperfect, like trying really hard but failing and like doing his best.
That's
doing his best,
what
but
makes
not
a sad dad.
Yes, that's what makes it worse.
Yeah.
And not having a perfect relationship represented makes it even sadder because it's what could have been, all those types of questions and stuff like, you know what, my dad was perfect and his memory lives on.
Yeah.
My dad was a perfect king, and it's sad that he's dead because now the kingdom is going to fail.
Yeah, and there's reasons why people are really There's a reason why people are very attached to like he might have been your dad or your father, but he wasn't your daddy moment from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 in a way
That's
that they
a
don't.
sad dad moment.
In a way that they don't for like any of the other, like Odin's death from Thor Ragnarok.
Oh, nobody gives a shit. Do you even remember when that happens? I mean, come on.
I'm just
Odin
saying,
who?
And oh my God, Michael Rooker versus Anthony Hopkins, who pulled off the saddest dad death?
Well, Michael
The
Rooker
answer
seems
might
more,
surprise you.
he seems more complicated. I think so many of us have, especially the older you are, the older your dad is, and the more that your dad was fathering you with like the patriarchy that he was raised with. And so they made a lot of mistakes, and like a lot of dads had a hard time being emotionally present and had a hard time relating with kids, you know, to make like big blanket statements. But so a lot of us have a relationship where either what we want from our dads is like, I fucked up a little, wish I did better, or maybe we did get that, and then it kind of echoes that moment.
I think what does it is when the dad finally opens up emotionally, and you're like,
Yes.
he just says what he wanted to say, but he was too manly to say the whole time.
Because let's think, how old is Violet in this? Let's say she's in her mid-20s, and that would put him, like, her born in, like, the mid-30s, or... Because it takes place in 64, so 20 years before that, she would have been born in, like, the late 30s, early 40s, let's say. Which would mean that he, at 50 years, was born in, like, the 1800s? Am I doing that math right?
Somebody else is doing the math. I have no idea.
So he's even more patriarchal than like even we are. Let's say he's probably pretty progressive, all things considered, than most dads at the time.
I mean, he's teaching his daughter how to play poker in 54, 55, so that she can be better at math. And he wants his daughter to be good at math. That's like
and he isn't even like
not a bad dad. He's a sad dad.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's not the same.
And the thing that surprised me, he wasn't even like, you can't be playing with those boys. He's like, not yet. Like, that was a very mature response for, like, a dad of that time.
Yeah.
All right. On that note, what is our overall thoughts on Violet and our cheese rating? Pearl, are you aware of our cheese rating? Do you know how that works?
Will you refresh me, please?
I will. I'll make Andrew do it first. Andrew, what is your overall thoughts and your cheese rating?
All right. I really enjoyed this. I mean, there's some aspects that I didn't love, namely the elongated gospel section that doesn't have much to do with anything. But, I mean, overall, it's pretty strong, and even that isn't like a major negative, so I'm not going to detract too much from it. The performances are good. I like the chair leaning a lot, you know, and I want more of that. More, I'm telling you, 4 people are leaning back in their chair at the same exact time on stage. Like, it's impressive. As far as the cheese rating, I just looked this up. This is I'm looking at the Cheshire Cheese Company has Parma Violets, and it's violet colored cheese, which is just the strangest looking thing, and it does not look appetizing. But for this episode, because it's violet, we're giving it Parma Violet.
That's a great
I'm
answer.
sure it tastes good. It just I don't know how I feel about purple cheese.
I don't blame you. Great answer. You actually put effort into that. I see you looked up cheese and violet, which is more than you usually do. I'm proud of you, Andrew.
I'm doing work.
All right, Pearl, what about you?
Well, I'm always going to love this musical. I think both cast albums are really up there as great albums to listen to. They have incredible performances. The orchestrations especially are really important to me as a musician and with country music. I don't know, like, if it needs to get done a lot more. Like, it kind of feels like we've evolved a little bit, and because of the racial elements in the story, it kind of does lock down that casting, which makes it a really white cast, and that's a little bit of a bummer.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're still putting on like Carousel and whatever, so
I know. My rating is always do Violet instead of Carousel.
That's a big rating. Cheese. Where can I buy that? Where can I buy that cheese? Is there a creamery somewhere?
Isn't carousel cheese an actual thing? I don't know.
Probably. There's probably some shit. You'll never cheese alone. You know what? When I think about that cheese, I just think, what's the use of wondering if it's good or if it's bad? I don't plan to watch it again. Bree, what do you think of our discussion on your cheese rating of that?
Oh my God, your discussion was fantastic. Andrew, what's with your eyes? They were all big.
I'm sweating, okay? I'm sweating.
He was like shocked that I said it was fantastic.
Can't be popping mollies before we record. That'll make you sweat.
This musical sounds like it has everything you could ever want: a girl with a scar, a sad dad moment, a lying priest. So I mean,
Aren't they all?
Peter in a nutshell, right there.
So I'm gonna give this, because I looked it up and it said Violet started in North Carolina. So I'm gonna give it North Carolina cheese biscuits as my
Hell yeah.
cheese rating.
Dang, it started in North Carolina? That's the same place the Wright brothers were. Or maybe South Carolina. I can't remember.
Hey Pearl, you want to get in on this? We want to write a Wright brothers musical. You want to help us?
Ooh, that's not a
Because
bad
it's all about
idea.
the Wrights. It's all about the Wright sister that never
flight, brother.
never got
there a
credit for
Wright
doing like
sister?
most of the work. Yeah, she did most of the
Yeah.
work and never got credit. So I'm like,
the
there's a
fuck
musical there.
There really is.
And I'm like, all right, us three, we can do this.
And you got some interesting characters. I mean, you got the two Wright brothers who are all both interesting, and then the
But
Wright
they were
sister
also
who
in
no one knows
competition
about.
with like the what's you call it, the Smithsonians. Like they were in competition of who could patent it first. Like there is plot there, and in
Yeah.
the end, the two siblings don't talk to each other. Like after one of the brothers die, the sister and brother just stop talking to each other.
It doesn't one of the
and
brother
then-
like try to take way more credit than he actually
Yes,
deserves?
because since everyone died and he decided, well, I'm the last one left and I get to write what happened, he wrote what happened to make himself look greater. And then some historian much later came out like, hold on, don't listen to his autobiography. That ain't how that happened.
It kind of like turns out that he actually did like almost nothing.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous story. There's a musical there. I don't know if we could do it,
great.
but I know
You
there's a
could-
musical there.
Stage it site specific on an airplane.
Yes. I think I had a cheese rating I still had to give. My God.
Go for it, Jess! Go!
I love Violet. Violet was so much fun. The score is gorgeous. Jeanine Tesori's like music is wonderful. I agree with every fault that it has, but my God, I think 2014 was the last possible time they could have revived it, and I'm glad they did. If they do kind of play with it more, I'd say go for it. Make some changes. I mean, it's a relatively new enough musical where you can like really dive in, and no one's gonna like, what? You're ruining my favorite show. How dare you? You're pissing on their graves. So
I think it can only benefit from being played again. I think people would like it.
But my only cheese rating I can give it is a no bake M&M cheese ball dessert. Because it's sweet and it's not like the most, it's a little garish to look at, but my God, it's a sweet little treat. And there's a song called M&M's.
Okay.
I like that.
This is like when we gave that one show Cheese Nips as a rating.
How can we not? I mean, I got there. All right, we did it, guys. Pearl, you were a fantastic guest. Like one of our best guests.
Thank you, guys.
Anytime you want to come back on, if there's another musical, you're like, I gotta talk about this. Like our doors are always open to you anytime.
Oh my God. I'll go back to the list that I wrote when you asked me originally, and I was like, it could be this or this. Oh, they've already done that one.
Yeah, the list is getting long. We're getting to a point where we're like, we're gonna have to redo some of these.
Yeah, or you're going to start doing
Some of the
really
older ones
obscure...
need to be redone.
I love doing
We've
obscure
already
ones.
done really obscure.
Like Gelsey's, like
Oh my God.
Institute.
Institute. What an interesting
I
show.
adore that woman. That's the best person to go to for something obscure.
She was a great guest, and we talked about, like, I love that show. Like, that entire Institute album I revisit a lot, because it is just insane-y pants. I don't get it, but I love it.
We should do another episode and like we should each come up with like an actual theory on what it's about.
That would be good. We should have Gelsey back on, and we just like, and the composer Brian McCorkle, who wrote Institute, and then he can say, "No, you're wrong."
Ooh, I don't want to be told I'm wrong.
Oh, then why do you have a podcast on the internet, Andrew? But Pearl,
So I can tell other people they're wrong.
you like David Hansen? You're wrong. That's the
Oh man, you are wrong.
Pearl, you've got so much wonderful things on the internet. Tell the world where they can find you and promote. Shill it out for the world.
Oh, absolutely, yes. You can find my website is pearlrhein.com. It's Rhein. It's just like the river in Germany. I'm on Twitter at Pearl Rhein. I'm on Instagram at Pearl Rhein. I think the day that this drops, I recently took a composing and songwriting class from William Finn, and who is like one of my musical theater idols. And it was an incredible experience, and he is a tough teacher. But he's hosting, and New York Theater Barn is co-hosting a concert of songs that the students wrote in that class. And so that's going to stream on their YouTube page on the 27th and then remain there after that. So when this drops, that will already have happened, but then it will also just exist on the New York Theater Barn YouTube page. And then you can find, I'm going to be tweeting about that a lot, and it'll be on my webpage. So if you find any of my socials, that will direct you to that concert, because I have a couple of songs in that concert, and I'm really excited about them.
Hell yeah.
And I think there was something else I wanted to say. Oh, and on June 7th, I am premiering a new song with one of my favorite groups called Necromancers of the Public Domain. It's usually a live performance group, and they're doing a streamed one because of obvious reasons. And it's all original songs and pieces inspired by a book in the public domain. And in this case, the book is about cicadas. It's this book from 1907 written about cicadas. So a bunch of songwriters of different genres and disciplines just all write songs based on these weird, obscure books. And that will also be on all of my socials and whatnot. And yeah, find me. I like to tweet a lot. I like to Instagram sometimes.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. That's amazing. You'll be tagged in all of these things. And also, if you're not already, which you should be, please subscribe to our YouTube page. It has some of like my favorite musical theater content ever. I find myself revisiting it a lot. If you ever want to hear what Sonia Alone sounded like as a country song, come on, guys.
You are too kind. Thank you.
As well, like a bunch of original compositions. I do listen to a ton of them on my own. If I'm gonna recommend a couple, the Ballad of the Blue-Footed Booby, like it's so much fun. And if you want something a little bit darker, The Mask, which is another wonderful like trio, beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Cannot recommend it enough. And please, go follow her and tell her how much you loved her being on our show.
I had such a great time, you guys. This is really fun. Thank you.
Hell yeah. You know who
Thanks
else
for coming on.
definitely had a great time? Our wonderful patrons! Thank you guys for listening. Please follow us on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher at Musicals with Cheese. We're on Twitter at Cheesy Musicals, Patreon Musicals with Cheese, Instagram Musicals with Cheese, YouTube page Musicals with Cheese. We're on Patreon, and you know that already. Or please email us at musicaltheaterlives@gmail.com. Our title card was created by the amazing Jolene Casco. Go send her some love at Jolene Casco. Our keeper of the cheese is Juliet Antonio. Our Bree Views theme song is created by Robin Nash of IOU UK Music. Go send her some love. This show is produced by the incredible, the wonderful, the gorgeous Brianna Jones. We love you so much, Brianna. Thank you to the Broadway Podcast Network for having us on the platform and for not kicking us off for bullying Dear Evan Hansen.
Or Meatloaf.
Or Meatloaf. Oh, yeah. We're pulling that.
Or Ben Brantley.
Or Ben Brantley. Yeah, maybe we are the bullies, now that I think about it.
We are.
We aim high with our bully subjects, though, like Meatloaf, Ben Platt, Ben
punching
Brantley, Ben Shapiro.
All white
A lot
men,
of
it's
Bens.
fine.
All right,
Meatloaf
Pearl.
is a dinner, actually.
Yeah, meatloaf is a dinner. Pearl, is there anything else you want to say before we wrap this up?
No, always put a banjo in your musical.
Hell yeah, that's great advice. All right,
Write that down. Write that down.
Write that down. Wright Brothers,
The Wright
banjo.
Brothers musical, 7 banjos.
We need banjos. How many banjos can we get?
Oh God, we've gone too far. Too many banjos.
I may have gone too far in a few places.
It's stylistically designed to be that banjo-y, but we can...
We can't undo it, but we can mitigate the effects.
All right, guys. We'll see you next time on Musicals with Cheese. I'm on my way to watch Violet. Go watch it.